Thank you, Michael. It's very, very nice. Very, 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 very nice. Today I want to talk on the topic of the Cornerstone of Freedom. For this entire month, our theme is Sowing Seeds of Freedom. And we have been using a new design for living by Ernest Holmes as our source book. So we are now in chapter 3, I believe, and that chapter is entitled, Don't Limit Yourself. So if you're designing a new life for yourself, don't put the brakes on anything. It is time to just open yourself up to allow whatever comes to be fully developed in your own mind. So to allow that to happen, there are a few things that we need to be aware of. First and foremost, thoughts or things. Our attitudes, and this is a big one, our attitudes make a difference. The creative mind of God is intelligent. And the last thing, of course, is don't limit yourself. Now, in our daily experiences, we're seeing stuff all the time. We look at our lives, and sometimes we're happy with what we see, and sometimes we're not happy with what we see. But what is important for us to remember is that we have created that which is outpictured in our world. Our inner life, our inner thoughts are the things that we see on the outside. So what does that mean? When you go into a work situation and you're not too happy with all the people that are there, there's been a thought in your mind about not having harmony, not having balance in those relationships in that situation. So that's what some of that means. It can also mean some of the other things. One thing that I am very sure of, and I've experienced this time and again in my life because I knew I created it, I am so blessed with good health. I have really good health. I'm really not sick that much. Sometimes I'll have some allergies, and sometimes I will bring a cold on because I may want to avoid something. I allow myself to create a cold, and I start sniffling before there's anything to sniffle about, so that I can be somewhat in harmony with the other folks at work that are sick, so I can stay at home. Let's see. If you were to look at my employment record, we have annual leave, we have comp time, we have sick leave. I have well over 1,800 hours of sick leave out of my career of working because I have health. I am thankful that I have health. So those few days that I have taken, when I had children, that was not an illness. That was a right that was given for me to be able to take off to be with my children for a while. But the rest of the time, I've not had surgeries and all of this kind of stuff. So it's been, very telling for me when I look at this topic about freedom, that I know that I am creating, and I have created situations that have not always been the truth of what God says that I am. God says I am healthy, I'm whole, I'm complete, I am entire. So I outpictured that. Now today is the day to allow the truth of who I am to be fully present. As I'm talking about this thing called the Cornerstone of Freedom, we're looking at a spiritual principle that is really important to our life. And that principle is that there's only one mind. There's only one God. There's only one Spirit. And it is the source of all that is created. And it is a source for good. What we know is that as God is all of that in the macrocosm, that is the same thing that we are in the microcosm. Because what this lesson is all about is the nature of God and the nature of God within us. So if we look at what we understand, what we come to know about the infinite spirit of life as being that nature, that is true for us. And what we find out about ourselves, no matter what it is, that is also true for what's part of the microcosm, the macrocosm, which is the infinite spirit of life, which is God. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to go as far in our careers as we would like to. Sometimes we don't allow the will and the purpose of God to really outplay in our life the way we'd like for it to do. I want to tell you a story about my own mystical experience. Several years ago, laying in bed, and I had been singing and just enjoying the songs, and I felt myself have this out-of-body experience. And I rose high up into the clouds, and I'm just moving along, just enjoying flying in the air. And then I came to rest in this place where there were people standing around. And it turned out this was a choir. And I became a part of the choir, and we just sang, and we sang such beautiful songs. And since that time, it's always been in my heart to be in choirs. It's always been in my heart to sing in some capacity. And if I can't sing with a choir, I'll sing by myself. And that's why I have this under thing all the time about we need a choir, we got to have a choir. Even if I can't get the 3 people, let's have an a cappella choir. You know, I don't care, I just want to have a choir. Let's update this. While I was there at a Silomar, there is always the Silomar choir that sings on one day. So this year the choir was scheduled to sing on a Friday. And rehearsals began on Monday, and I was not there on Monday. I was there on Tuesday, but had commitments and were not able to attend the rehearsals. I wasn't able to get to the rehearsal until Wednesday. So I went in for the rehearsal, you know, with this attitude of, I've been here all along and I'm just going to get with my group and I'm going to sing. And as it turned out, the songs were very interesting and the words were very easy to pick up. So that's one of the gifts of the Spirit that I feel God has given me, to be able to pick up the songs pretty quickly and to be able to sing. So here I am standing there with the sopranos to sing, and the director decided she wanted to have an extra high pitch part to be a part of the song. And this one woman looked at me because she knew I hadn't been there all along. And she says to me, "Are you able to hit that note?"
It's called a descant part. It's an octave above.
And I said, "Are you wearing? Well, are you able to hit that note?" Quite frankly, I didn't know if I would be able to. But I put on my game face and I said, I can hit whatever note I need to hit around here. So here we did the song again, and I hit the note, which was really, really nice. So that laid to rest, I guess, in her mind, whether or not I really belong there. So I actually had one day of rehearsal for choir, and we actually sang on that Friday morning, and we got standing ovation. One of the songs that we sang, we converted into a chant, and I will do it for you now. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life. There's something unlike. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is mine right now. And thank you, Michael, because the very same thing happened with the plethora, and we were so blessed with different musicians. We had drummers, we had basses, we had acoustic guitar, we had the horns, we had Tammy, I can't think of Tammy's last name, but an excellent, amazing pianist out of San Francisco. And it was like everybody joined in. And here we were standing there singing this chant. And we were already, constantly being filled with the spirit of the magnificence and the energy of saying these words. And we were looking at the audience and we kept wondering, why aren't they up on their feet? Why aren't they, really joining in with us? And after the performance was over, people jumped out of their seats. They couldn't believe it. It was like, I would say maybe the day of Pentecost, where everybody all of a sudden was speaking the same language. Everybody understood everything. I think we all had a numinous experience. We all had a mystical experience at that same time, because we were all so aware of the presence and the energy of God in that very moment. We all knew it. So after the service was over for that morning, we began to poll people and ask them, well, what did they think of the song? And several people said, well, the instructions were for us to close our eyes. So many people went into a meditative state. So that's why they weren't up chanting with us, and that they found themselves in this place of stillness and quiet, and all they could hear was just, there's only one life. That life is my life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And they became one with it. There was nothing else. Nothing else. So we all had this amazing mystical experience at the same time. And when we have mystical experiences, we're talking about having that direct contact with God. That's what we're talking about. So when it comes to having freedom, what is the freedom that we're looking for if we're able to have direct contact with God? I think in this chapter of A New Design for Living, Ernest Holmes tells us that in a very nice way that we individually have to get over ourselves. We have to gain freedom from our thoughts, because it is the raw material of our life. The raw material. Thoughts are things. Ideas, thoughts are there. The thoughts and ideas of the past, those thoughts of yesterday, are no longer really relevant for our life today. We have been talking about for some time, we want to have our own space, our own location for our church. But we set some criteria for what that would look like. And we've been trying to meet that criteria, but I find that it is the strangest thing. That criteria no longer fits our needs. It no longer fits our needs anymore. And we have to have a newer idea, a better idea. And until we get that newer idea, a better idea, we're going to be stuck in this place. I'm not talking about physical location. I'm talking about in this place of, I want to do thus and so, but I can't make any move because I'm stuck in thinking that it has to be in this old way of doing it and looking at it. We're not free when we're stuck in those ideas. So in terms of us not limiting ourselves, we have to open ourselves up to the possibilities of what is available to us. What are those possibilities? They're out there because we're only limited by what we say we can and cannot have. But the infinite spirit of life says you can have everything you want. Now, what this lesson is also teaching us is how the mind works. What is the thought? What is the raw material that you're using when you're thinking about a particular situation? See, Spirit doesn't tell us you have to think positively all the time. If you want, you can think negatively. And you can go down that path as negatively as you want to. But will you actually experience the very good that you're looking? You will experience whatever those negative thoughts say that you want, or whatever you're dwelling upon. Why? Because when that idea comes out of your spirit and it moves into the soul, it's moving into the creative medium. And the creative medium operates in a way that says, whatever you say, Spirit, that's what I'm going to do. And it does that, and therefore it manifests for us the result and the effect of what we've said. When you say, I can't do a particular thing, you will not do it until you change your mind to say, I can do it. I can. When you begin to see the possibility of your being able to do a particular thing, then you will. You will. You already have all the source, all of the resource, all of the supply, everything that's available. Back to our wanting to have another place. We have had a wonderful person who's a real estate agent who says, well, anytime you find a place, just let me know. I'll check it out and I'll let you know whether or not it'll work for you. Yet, I've heard from a couple of people, oh, I was driving and I found the perfect place. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? We could have had someone to check it out for us. Well, so we have to stop doing that. If we truly, 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 in the true place of our heart, really want to go into another location, then we will have to do that which is necessary. See, what I understand about discovery and our relationship with God, we are already blessed with everything that we need to get from point A to point C. We're already blessed with that. What we have to do in the middle is to discover what it is we want to get to. One of the key things that Reverend Andrea Earl talked about in her presentation, and the title of it was The Gift of Discovery. She talked about being on a bridge. And the bridge to anything for those of us that are in this thing of thought is our imagination. Can you use your imagination to see yourself at your destiny, to see yourself at your end point? Can you see it? And I had to say, oh, absolutely, because I can see myself standing on the bridge right now. And my destination, I'm already inside of the church. And there's this nice little walkway that you, like a runway that a model would be on. I walk down it, and then there's a beautifully nice circle where I stand and I'm talking. I don't have this in front of me. I'm just in that spotlight and I am talking, and there are chairs on this side, chairs on this side, chairs in the front. I mean, and it is bad. It is really nice. So I see my destination. I see that end point, and I'm saying, all right, Spirit, show me how to get that. Show me how to bring that forth into manifestation. And what I know is that God can only do through me what I'm willing to allow God to do. God can only do for us in this church what we are willing to allow Spirit to move through us to do. It also means that we can't look at one another and expect the other person to do it. we have to contribute our part. Because when we contribute our individual parts, then we get the whole of it taken care of. And it's not a burden on any one particular person. So don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself in your career. Don't limit yourself in any of the work that you do. Don't limit yourself in the relationships that you have. Don't limit yourself in anything, for the resources of spirit are available to you in every dimension, in every direction. Now that's a biggie for us. And the reason why I say it's a biggie is because we place those limits on ourselves. We can take the limits off of ourselves. And I want to show you how. I mean, I've shared with you some of the relationships that I've had, but what I've learned through some of the relationships is when I am walking closely with Spirit and I am asking God to guide me through my day, and I find myself coming into contact with someone or something that I really don't want to be a part of, I hear Spirit speaking to me and asking me these questions like, if so-and-so was drowning, would you stick your hand out so that person could grab your hand so that they would not drown? And I'm like, yeah, of course, I would do that. That's just common courtesy and human thing. I'm not into killing people, you know. And then Spirit could ask me a question like, oh, if so-and-so were hungry and you had ample food, would you share your food? And I'm like, yeah, of course I would do that. That's the human and kind thing to do. It never fails. Since I know in whom has a good report about me, it never fails that one of the areas where I've had conflict will come into play, and I actually have to let go of my limited thinking on what could be and what cannot happen to just be in that soft place of allowing that which is to just pass through. Just pass through. You will recall last week we had the fire in Richmond. I live 2 miles from the Chevron refinery. And of course, when the alarms went off, I wasn't too bothered about what was happening because I wasn't being affected. But yet, the alarm and the emergency covered the area in which I live. So there was a shelter in place that was required. And I did close the windows, and then I thought, oh, I need to do some shopping, so I left. I went outside. I left, and I went to get some groceries and some dinner, and then I came back, and another alarm went off. I think maybe 4 or 5 alarms. The last alarm I heard was around 10 o'clock or 10:30. I mean, they kept going off all night long. So, you know, everything was okay for me. It was okay for me. I can't say that for someone else because there were other people who lived so much closer and who probably experienced much more than I did. I didn't have any ill or adverse effect. On the next day, one of the people that I never in my wildest imaginations actually called and left a message and said, Carolyn, is everything all right? I just know you live in that area, and I was really concerned. And I'm like holding the phone, listening, and I'm like, God, are you, is this you? You know, how could this be? Because I never expected that person to give me a call to check on me. So I immediately responded back saying, thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it. And, you know, we got off the phone, and I just said, okay, God, that was nice. That was good. Okay, that was fine. But that was not the end of it. As I got into the office, walking along the street, I saw another person that I really just didn't want to have a conversation with. And Spirit says to me, I know you're not going to be running, hiding, dodging. I had already calculated that by the time I got to the front door, that person would be there, and there was going to be an intersection. Our paths would cross. And I had just decided, okay, I'm going to slow my steps so that we really won't intersect. But that was not going to be the will of Spirit there. So Spirit says, no, don't do that. You prayed this morning to allow love to flow through you. You prayed to receive love. You prayed to accept love. And you prayed that you would be open to whatever love looks like for you in this day. So this person actually said, Carolyn, it's so good to see you. I know you live in Richmond, and I was really concerned. I was more surprised at this person than the one who called and left a message. And she stood there and she held this conversation with me. And I said, I really appreciate you, saying that to me. I realized I wasn't in any immediate danger or anything, but the very fact that someone who had not been kind to me would actually demonstrate, and really demonstrated through the body language and everything, genuine concern and genuine care for my well-being. And after we finished our conversation, she left. I heard the Spirit say within me, that's my love. That's my love. And see, I would have limited that love from flowing. I would have limited myself from receiving that. And those are the kinds of things we have to overcome. What are the shortcomings that we have? What are the attitudes that we have to keep us from experiencing the prospering power of Spirit in our lives? Sometimes it's a very simple thing. And yeah, we have to get over the idea that the $1 million will fall out of the sky and we'll be blessed and have everything that we absolutely want. But, that's really the truth of it. But I truly believe that as we look at the spiritual practices that we allow ourselves to be involved in today, one of the major things that we want to be aware of is our union with God. Another way of looking at this would be called karma yoga. I didn't believe in karma until I came into religious science. And one of the things we teach in the science of mind is not only how to think, we teach you how to know. And when we say there's only one mind, that mind is God, that mind is perfect, that mind is my mind now, and I unify with that very mind of God, we are allowing ourselves to acknowledge that we are a part of Spirit, and Spirit is a part of everything. Everything, absolutely everything. Therefore, we are part of everything. Everything. And it's amazing when you recognize that you are a part of everything, then you can start growing to the point of not preferring one thing over the other. And yeah, I know that's something that we all have to get to. But one of the things that Ernest Holmes does say to us is that we must seek to realize the spiritual universe, regardless of any confusion, regardless of any condition that appears. If we would embody the greatest good, we have to see the universe as being healthy, whole, well, and good for everything. And for everyone. So that means we can take the limit off of ourselves. We don't have to stay in a box. Today is the day to crawl out of the box. And if you can't crawl out, at least bust it so you can let a little bit more light in and allow that light to be an avenue for a new idea. Allow that light to become a new pathway that you can take to have greater fulfillment. for things that you want to experience.